Hello and happy Monday. Welcome to the Money Monday with Purse Strings. My name is Maggie Nielsen and I am a partner at Purse Strings. For those of you who are new here, Purse Strings comes on every week on Mondays at 1:30 Central. And Purse Strings is all about providing free knowledge and know-how for women. Just get the wheels turning, get some bits of knowledge and information. But when you need a professional, if you're going to buy a house or go through a divorce or need some insurance, anything like that, we have our Purse Strings approved professionals who have been vetted by Purse Strings and love to serve the female market. We have Anna with us today, who's one of our Purse Strings approved professionals out of California. And so before we dive into real estate and why it's so important to be investing, Anna, will you give us a little intro of who you are and what you do?
Yes, great to be here, Maggie. Thank you so much for the opportunity. I call myself a smart money strategist, and that's because I help women strategize the very best way to grow their money. Lots of really fun, interesting ways to do that, have their own bank, invest, and it's awesome. There was a time shortly after becoming a widow that I felt very unempowered around my money. And so it just brings me great joy to help women feel comfortable about their money, be excited about it, and get rid of that fear.
I love that. Yeah. Once you know your money, you can feel so empowered. And having great people on your team is essential to make that happen. So let's step into our power and have that money. We'll have to do another talk about having your own bank because that's always an interesting topic.
Yes.
But today we're going to talk about real estate investing. And so just to get started, why is adding real estate to your portfolio so important?
Yeah, so it's really important because real estate, as we know, grows very differently than money in other strategies. And so, you've heard that adage, don't have all your eggs in one basket, and it very definitely applies to money as well. You have, money in stocks and bonds and other types of investments, and you don't want your whole portfolio to be doing the same thing. Like right now, we're seeing quite a few downs and people are losing money in some of their accounts. And so, at a time like this, if a portion of your portfolio is growing, such as in real estate, then it's not a panic time. It's just like, okay, this other part is growing and this other part is losing some things. So it's just a great equalizer so that you do have something always growing in your portfolio, and it's been well recognized as a wealth accumulator. And so we all want to have something that's consistently bringing us growth, and so that's why real estate is just a great way to do that.
I love that. I've been learning a lot more about real estate in the past year and all the wealth it brings and the potential out there, which is amazing. And we have another professional who talks a lot about even just owning your home can bring some generational wealth. So I'm excited to dive into this. But a lot of people think, it used to always be, the 20% down. So investing in real estate seems out of reach for a lot of people. What is the minimum, or can you give some insight there?
Yeah, absolutely. And I had this same notion that, I don't have an extra $200,000-300,000 to put into a rental or some other type of a property. And so, well, I guess real estate investing is not going to be for me for a very long time. I'm happy to report that when you use land and the way we use it, you can use as little as $40,000. So
Wow.
that just became, okay, that's a lot easier to achieve, right? So that's what I love about it as well, is because I think that many times, particularly women, we don't always have that investing conversation, investing in land and real estate and that type of thing. We kind of get left behind because I think a lot of that notion that, well, I would never have enough money to do that, or how would I go about doing that? And so that's why I love having this conversation. And I know we'll get into where some of that money can come from, but many women have like an old 401k laying around. Just in the last couple of years, we've seen a lot of people shifting jobs, and some because they wanted to, others because they were forced to, but now they have money sitting in an old 401k that they're not going to be able to access until they're 59 and a half. And it's so easy to roll it from that into a self-directed IRA and, be able to use those funds. So I love that it's just so much more attainable at a minimum of 40,000. Obviously, more is possible, but it is within our ability to do this. And that's what's exciting.
And so it's interesting that you brought up land, because a lot of times for real estate, we think of our home, renting a home, maybe, being a landlord, or,
Mhm.
doing the Airbnb thing. But like I've learned over the years, there's way more out there. And so you kind of proposed land. How is that different, or than purchasing, like a property, a house property, I guess?
Yeah, well, and again, I had all of these limiting beliefs that, that all of you probably have had and share, like, I think when you stay at an Airbnb, it's like, it's sexy, it's so cool, it's awesome, all these things are so neat and I love them. But when I think of all the behind the scenes things and what's
Yeah.
required, and I know last winter my family and I stayed in an A-frame cabin. It was absolutely amazing, in the California foothills. And the owner, like, we got to stay, we were like the second people that stayed there. And she was just like, we live in Napa, and this is just our project. We just finished it. And Maggie, literally, I think she rented it 4 times. And then there was a message, we're no longer doing this. We live in Napa. This is too far away.
Yeah.
Like, all the administrative part of doing that, making sure that it's well cleaned every time. I mean, it's a lot. And so while we love those things and they're exciting, we're busy. And a lot of women, they have, if they're working outside the home and they have a family or they have a business, it's just like, yeah, I cannot add that. There is just no way. And so likewise with a rental, I call it the 3 T's: the toilets, tenants, and trash. You've got
Love that.
Yeah, you've got that going on too. And so, again, my goal is always to make this as simple and as smart as possible. And so we don't want another plate to spend. If we could just purchase land in the path of projected growth, so there's already growth there. We see it all around the area. And if we can be strategic and say, you know what, it's reasonable that in 7 to 10 years, someone else is going to come and develop this land, and they're going to pay me way more for this parcel than I'm paying right now. And so it's easy. It's simple. You don't even have to worry about developing it. You don't have to figure out what will go there. You don't have to have any of that knowledge or plans. All you're doing is strategically saying, this is an area that's booming. There's a ton of growth here already. There's a ton more coming. There's all of those indicators. And so I'm going to put $50,000, $60,000 into this parcel, and someone else in 7 to 10 years is going to come and develop it, and they're going to pay me way more for it. And so it's just so simple. It's obvious. It's very different than, raw land in the middle of absolutely nowhere. Obviously, that's really inexpensive, but we don't know what's going on there. And then, you have land that's been developed. There's a commercial building on it. Well, now that's way more expensive and way out of our reach. And so this is kind of in the middle, and it makes sense, and it's simple. It's literally buy it, hold it, wait, someone else comes and does it. And we can all do that. So I'm all about the simple.
Yeah. Is this like one of those things, like I've driven down the street and they're literally selling just a plot of land to do whatever you want with commercial property or anything? Is that just buying one of those pieces?
So what it is we do it in a specific area in California. It's called the Antelope Valley. There's 2 cities, Lancaster and Palmdale, and there's the area between them as well. And it's like an hour outside of Los Angeles.
Yeah.
So what's been happening for the last 18 years is people are moving out of LA because it's too expensive. They're running out of space there, all of those things. And they're moving up into this area. And so this growth has been kind of established. I mean, they have 12 high schools there. There's a ton of things going on in the area. So again, it's not like, I wonder if, in 20 years, speculatively, there'll be some growth here. It's very clear. I mean, if you look at that area on Google Map, which I share with all of my clients, I'll show them the area and all the things that are there. It's like it's a no-brainer. And we
Yeah.
probably all in our areas, wherever we are, we can today point to an area that 10 years ago, there was nothing there.
Yeah.
And now we're going by and saying, oh my gosh, if I'd only known that was the plan. They've got, in my area, there's several places where it was just, a space not very far from a fruit stand that people frequented, but there was hardly anything else around there. And there are now 2 huge shopping areas. And you're just like,
Wow.
how is there a Target and an Ace Hardware and all this stuff out here in the middle of nowhere? But so we've all seen those areas, and that's what's been happening in this area. And so you're just, and we're doing commercial and light industrial parcels. So we are not dealing with residential parcels, but all around the residential areas, there's, these commercial opportunities. And so, and it's great. And light industrial parcels are great too, because it could be a warehouse, it could be a manufacturing place, it could be, some of the parcels now have hospitals on them. It's those type of things, it could be a hotel. So yeah, it's just incredible what the growth is that's in this particular area. And that's why we're really confident about, what the growth will be like here. And that, it's not a question of, will there be something coming here? It's just when.
Yeah. I just moved to Kansas City, Missouri, and it's a big place that's definitely up and coming. It's already up and come in the past, 5, 8, 10 years. But the projection for the next 20 years is a lot of growth. And so I know we're like, what's open, what's out there? Like, where should we kind of jump in to get started? Because we hear about it. So let's jump in while, you see the people flocking there, just like you said, you see the high schools, you see things blooming. So you got to jump in.
Yeah, absolutely.
So what kind of funds can people use for these type of investments?
Yeah. So in this case, there's so many possibilities. So of course, there's always cash. A lot of people just have a lot of money in the bank, and right now with the way inflation is, and that we're not even earning 1%. I mean, my rule of thumb for people is, more than 6 to 8 months of your living expenses, you want to keep that in a savings account. Anything over that, you should be using it to grow your money and do it in a safe and wise way. So obviously there's always cash. I mentioned earlier the 401k, and I would say, and I want to specify an old 401k. So specifically people that, have made job changes recently, those funds are, and especially, you're in your mid 40s, let's say, you can't touch that money to 59 and a half. And so it's great, rather than just having all of it sit in the market, you can diversify. We talked about that earlier, having a lot of things going on in your portfolio, not just one. So you can take a portion of that, or all of it, or whatever seems to work best for you, and roll it into that self-directed IRA. And now you own land. I mean, literally, you don't even have to write a check. I've had some clients recently, they're like, this is incredible. Like,
I was going to say, because we're always known, don't withdraw that money, there's going to be a huge cut tax implication. But there's a way to get around that.
Well, you're not taking the money out. You're just rolling it from one type of an account to another. So it's not a taxable event. So yeah, you're right. If you take that money out and you use it to go purchase something, whatever, that is a taxable event. But in this case, we hold those funds in a self-directed IRA. So wherever it's usually some sort of a type of an IRA, or whatever account that old 401k is in. You're just rolling it from that account into now this self-directed IRA, and those funds are being held there, but now you own land in your retirement plan. So it's incredible when someone has that opportunity. And a lot of people, made a lot of changes in the last couple of years during COVID and all of this. And so it's so nice. I had a client about 2 weeks ago. She said, so she changed her job like mid 2021, and she's been watching that old 401k. And just in the last 3-4 months, she's lost like $35,000. And she was like, it's not growing incredibly anyway, and I really want to stop, that bleeding. And so she was like, this is an amazing way to do it. And again, sometimes people, when they're purchasing property, real estate, whatever, they're looking for, something that's going to give them monthly income pretty quickly. And so this is certainly not that, so it isn't always a fit. If somebody needs monthly income coming from that, then this isn't going to be that thing. But if you're looking for solid, consistent growth in your portfolio, and then there's some really creative things, it's another conversation that we can do when you sell the property. But right now, what you're doing is you're just, you're hedging losses. You're creating a place for there to be significant growth in a portfolio. So, any kind of IRA money, anything in those type of accounts, you can absolutely use for this. You can also do what we call a 1031 exchange. So let's say you currently have a rental property. You're running into some issues. You realize that you can't administrate this anymore. It's become more than you anticipated. You can absolutely sell that and roll that investment into a land investment. That's a 1031 exchange. And now you can have land instead. So you can transfer from one investment to another. That's another way to enter into this market.
Yeah, this seems like a great opportunity that's very not very labor intensive, which is great. Because I mean, if anything, maybe you need to mow the lawn or the land sometimes, but it seems like, there's no toilets, there's no trash, there's nothing. Don't even mow it.
Actually, you don't. Yeah, there is no Mod Financial takes Couchways Investments takes care of all of the things that sometimes, fences need to be put up. It just depends on the area, what's going on. But yeah, they absolutely handle all of that for you. And they even vet offers that come in. So all of those details are things that, I can go through at a later time. But yeah, it is literally, I call it set it and forget it. Like, you will get annual evaluations. You'll get quarterly newsletters about what's happening in the area. But there is literally nothing for you to do. So.
Wow, that's amazing.
Yeah.
So I know you said Antelope Valley, right?
Yes.
Was a great place in California, or a good region for an investment because they are growing. Is that kind of the area that you specialize in then?
Yeah. So it's the two cities of Lancaster and Palmdale that we specifically target. They are in the Antelope Valley. And they're literally just, if you from Los Angeles, if you go up over the 14, it goes up over the mountain range and it dumps you right down into Palmdale is first. Then there's a little bit of space between, and then you have Lancaster. And so it's that whole area that we specialize in.
Sounds gorgeous. It really does.
Yeah.
I'm glad you're bringing this topic to the attention of women, just because there are so many options out there for us to be investing our money and really getting the most out of our money and having it be invested. Because sometimes I know many women kind of feel like, well, no one ever told me. So I feel like I'm behind the 8 ball and I never got that opportunity. Yep. So bringing these to light and showing that, there are so many other things out there is amazing. In real estate, there are so many different branches once you start diving in.
There is. And I've recently been learning about, there's warehouses and parking garages and so many types of
storage units.
Yeah. It's like, wow, this is, And that's the thing. We just don't know what we don't know. And that's what this is all about. Like, these opportunities do exist. And that's why I love sharing the word, because women are awesome at sharing with others. And so they're like, oh, you've got to know about this. And that's why it's important that we talk about it and share it with each other.
I love it. I love it. Well, I already feel like we just flew through a bunch of great information. Is there any other tips or tricks that you want to make sure are shared today with our community?
Just that it's so important to be open-minded when it comes to this. As we were just saying, there's so many neat things out there that, we may not be aware of. Something else I specialize in is, as we talked about, building your own bank. And the more that you tap into communities like Purse Strings, where these conversations are going on, I just think it's really important, because the more confident we become, the better we're able to make good decisions. And I feel like really change this notion that women aren't great investors. And, I often hear from clients, I'm just not good with money. And it's not okay to just be stuck in that may be how you feel, but this community and many women in this community are on a crusade to change that, and be open to learning these things, because it's fun and exciting. Before I got in this industry, I had some of those same notions, but it's awesome to be on the other side of it and empowering women. So just be a student, take it in, and you will benefit so much.
I love that. One question we did have come through is that, do you have to be living in California to kind of take advantage of this opportunity?
Great question. Not at all. I can work with anyone, actually internationally. So
Wow.
anybody can own a piece of California, which can be a great differentiator for people in other countries as well, to have the ability to do that. So yeah, literally anyone could participate.
Awesome. Well, thank you, Anna, so much for providing this information today.
Yeah.
The whole time, Anna's email has been going across the bottom. So if you have any questions or interested in talking more, you could always email Anna. She's also one of our Purse Strings approved professionals, so you could reach out to her off our site, pursestrings.co. And I would just love to hear if anyone else has been investing in real estate or what their experience has been. So just leave it in the chat wherever you're watching, and we'd love to check that out later. So thank you, Anna, for coming on today.
Yes.
And we will be back here again next Monday for some more Money Monday. Great information. So thank you.
Awesome. You're very welcome.
All right. Talk soon. Bye.
Okay. Bye-bye.